I became my family's financial backbone without question or complaint. Somewhere along the way, I stopped being a son or brother and became something much easier to use. It started with a flat tire. Not mine, my mom's. She was stuck outside the pharmacy one cold January evening, and I happened to be the only one who picked up the phone. I was 25 at the time, living in a cramped apartment above a sandwich shop, working long hours at a warehouse job that barely gave me weekends off. Still, I drove 40 minutes out of my way that night without a second thought. Because that is what you do for family, right? That night turned into dinner. Dinner turned into her mentioning the electric bill was past due. I told her not to worry. I could cover it this once. She smiled, hugged me, told me I was her rock. I drove home feeling proud. Like maybe, despite all the mess in our family, I was finally stepping into something solid. Like maybe I mattered. The next time was my sister, Jenna. Her car needed brakes, and she was short from missing hours at her job. I helped. Then it was Dad. He needed new shoes for work, and I sent him a gift card. After that, it was my brother Matt's rent. He was in between gigs, just for a week. I helped again. At first, every time felt like a chance to show I was dependable, reliable, the one they could count on. Every dollar I gave came with a piece of pride. I thought, this is what love looks like. You show up when it counts. And they did say thank you, at least in the beginning. My mom would call and say how proud she was. Jenna would text little heart emojis. Matt called me a lifesaver. It was not much, but it was something. It felt like I was part of something again, like I belonged. For someone who used to be invisible at family dinners, that mattered more than I wanted to admit. But looking back now, I think that is when the shift began, quietly, without fanfare. Not in what they asked for, but in how they asked. Less hesitation, more assumption. Like helping once meant I was always available. Like just this once became, of course you will. It was small things at first. A gas card here. Some groceries there. A copay for an urgent doctor visit. I told myself it was all temporary. I thought, once they got back on their feet, it would balance out. I believed that so hard, I ignored the first real red flag. One day, I got a message from Matt. Hey bro, rent's short again. Can you send me $300 by tonight? No explanation. No hello. No check-in. Just a straight-up request like I was a bank teller behind glass. And here is the kicker. I sent it. Because in my head, I still believed helping meant loving. Providing meant being good. And being good? That was something I had spent most of my life chasing in that family. But that night, after I hit send and stared at my near-empty account, something in me stirred. Not anger, not regret, but something quieter. Like the wind before a storm. And the storm was coming. You know what they stop asking about when they know you will always say yes? Everything else. At first, when I would get a call from Jenna or Matt or even Mom, there would be a little small talk. How are things? Or how is work going? Thrown in to warm things up. But over time, those questions dried up. The calls started coming with purpose, and that purpose was always money. I would answer and hear Matt's voice say something like, hey man, quick thing, I need a little help until Friday. No hello. No mention of how I was doing. Jenna once texted me at 2 in the morning. Can you send $250? My card got declined. That was it. No punctuation. No follow-up. Just assumed access. I started noticing something else, too. When I did not respond right away, they would get irritated. Not concerned. Not curious. Irritated. As if my delay was some sort of betrayal. I got a voice message from Mom once, her tone sharp, asking why I was ignoring her. I had been at work, doing a double shift in steel-toed boots while my back screamed from lifting crates all day. When I called her back and explained that I had not even seen her text, she just said, well, I figured you were avoiding us. You know how we worry. That word, worry, used to mean something. But by then, it had turned into a guilt trip with perfume on it. It did not mean we miss you. It meant we noticed you have not paid up yet. Birthdays started to fade. No more calls. No messages unless it was to ask if I could cover this one thing. I stopped being invited to random get-togethers. But the weird part? I did not even care at first. I was too tired to be hurt. Too numb to notice the cold creeping in. But then one day, I got a group text from the family. My niece, Jenna's daughter, had won a school art contest. Everyone was going crazy about it, blowing up the thread with heart emojis and congratulations. I said, that's awesome, tell her I am proud of her. No reply. 3 hours later, Jenna texted me privately. Hey, Do you think you could send something for her prize? Maybe like a gift card? Something decent, not cheap. I already told her you would. She did not even wait for an answer. That night, I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, thinking about what it all had become. I was not part of the family in the way I used to dream of being. I was not a brother or a son or an uncle anymore. I was just a wallet with a phone number. And when I tried to bring it up, just once, to test the water, I said, "Hey, does it ever feel like you only reach out when you need something?" The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared. Then came the response. "Well, what else are we supposed to do? You are the one who has their life together." That line, that single sentence stuck to my ribs like poison. It would not be the last time I heard it. But the next time it nearly broke me. They made it sound like a compliment. You are the one with your life together. As if that explained everything. As if stability meant I no longer needed to be seen, only accessed. At first, I clung to it. That sentence rolled around in my head like a badge of honor. I told myself it meant I was strong, capable, the one who climbed out of the mess we were born into, the one who could take hits and keep walking. But deep down, I started to feel it. That slow ache that comes when you realize people do not ask how you are anymore, because they have already decided what you are. I was their fallback, their emergency fund, their invisible net. Even when I was breaking, that year, I got laid off from my warehouse job. Corporate cuts, nothing personal, just one of those mass layoffs that chews through your department like a forest fire. I did not tell anyone. Not right away. I figured I would bounce back fast. And honestly, part of me wanted to see how long it would take before someone noticed I was struggling. Nobody did. In fact, 2 days after I lost my job, Matt texted asking if I could spot him gas money to get to an interview. I sent him $20 and ate ramen for dinner again, just like I used to back when I was broke in 22. The next day, Mom called, not to check in, but to ask if I had any wiggle room to help with a vet bill for her dog. I almost said it. Almost told her I got laid off. Almost let my voice crack. But instead, I smiled through the phone and said, "Yeah, I can cover it. Just this once." It was always just this once. And here is the worst part. Some twisted part of me still felt proud. I still thought, at least I am useful. Because when you have grown up being overlooked, usefulness starts to feel like love. But the silence between those transactions? It got louder. Birthdays came and went. No calls. Just the occasional emoji from Jenna. Christmas rolled in, and I spent it alone for the first time in 5 years. They said they were keeping it small this year. But I saw the pictures. Matt posted them on social. Mom, Jenna, her husband, even Dad, who never showed up to anything anymore. Everyone was there. Just not me. No invitation. Not even a lie. That was when I stopped pretending I was just imagining it. And around New Year's, I started journaling. Nothing fancy. Just whatever came to mind when I sat still long enough to feel something. One night, I wrote this. Being needed is not the same as being loved. One has limits. The other gets swallowed whole. I looked at that sentence for a long time. I wanted to believe there was still some version of us, me and my family, where connection came before convenience. But I had a feeling that belief was about to be tested in a way I never saw coming. And I was right. Because the next morning, I got a call from Jenna. Not a text. A call. Which meant it was going to be bad. And it was worse than I expected. When I saw Jenna's name pop up, I stared at the screen for a solid 30 seconds before answering. She never called unless something was broken. And sure enough, the moment I picked up, she was crying. Not the soft, sniffly kind either. Full-on sobbing. I felt my stomach twist before I even heard the words. "I do not know what to do," she said between gasps. "I think we are going to lose the house." It hit me like a punch. I did not even know they were behind on payments. I sat there in my tiny studio apartment, unemployed, eating cereal with no milk, listening to my sister fall apart. And all I could think was, of course it has come to this. She went on about how things had gotten bad. Her husband had been let go. Their savings were gone. The mortgage was months behind. They were drowning in credit card debt. And Mom, she was too stressed to deal with anything right now. Jenna said I was the only person she could call. "I am not asking you to save us," she whispered. "I just need help getting through this one thing. Please." I would not ask if it was not life or death. That last part, that is what got me. Because how do you say no to someone when they say please like that? I asked how much. She hesitated. Then she said the number. I stopped breathing for a second. It was not a few hundred. It was several thousand. Enough to wreck what was left of my emergency fund, the tiny safety net I had scraped together from freelance gigs and unemployment checks. I told her I needed time to think. She went quiet. Then she said something that changed everything. I told Mom you would come through. She said, he always does. It was meant as comfort, I think. But it felt like a verdict. Like my fate had already been sealed behind my back. I sat there in the silence, my spoon sinking into soggy cereal, my jaw locked tight. I said I would call her back. And then I turned off my phone. For 3 hours, I just sat on the floor and stared at the wall, thinking about all the ways I had bent myself into someone who was always available. Never questioned, never considered, just expected. I kept hearing that line over and over again. He always does. Like I was not a person, just a system that functioned when they hit the right button. But here is the thing, I did help. Yeah, I sent the money the next day. Because even when your gut is screaming stop, your heart still remembers who they used to be. And maybe, just maybe, you want to believe they will see this sacrifice and finally understand what it costs you. But I was wrong. Because 2 weeks later, I found out something that made my blood run cold. And it had nothing to do with Jenna's house. 2 weeks after I drained the last of my savings to help Jenna save her house, I was back at work. Finally picked up a steady gig doing deliveries, long hours, but it paid. I was in the middle of a 12-hour shift when I stopped for gas and checked my phone. There was a photo in our old family group chat. A big round table at some restaurant I had never heard of. White linen tablecloths, wine glasses, steaks the size of my fist. Everyone was there. Mom, Jenna, Matt, even Dad, who usually goes to these things. They were all smiling, arms around each other, holding drinks in the air like some damn holiday commercial. The caption said, "Family night. We earned this." I just stood there at the pump, wind slicing through my hoodie, fingers frozen on my screen. I stared at that picture until the gas handle clicked. Then I zoomed in. There was a paper on the table. Folded receipt, half visible. One of those itemized printouts from a fancy steakhouse downtown. I recognized the logo. It was the kind of place you only go for anniversaries or graduations. Definitely not for family night, 2 weeks after begging your brother for money to avoid losing your house. I felt my chest go tight. Not with anger. Not yet. Just a slow-building nausea. Like something sour rising in the back of your throat. I texted Jenna. No response. I waited, paced the sidewalk outside the gas station, watching my breath cloud up in the air. An hour later, she replied. Oh yeah, that. It was just a little thank you dinner. Matt paid. Chill. Chill. That was her word. Like I was the crazy one for even asking. I let it sit for a minute before texting again. You told me you were about to lose your house. Her reply came back quick this time. We were. That was before you helped. We just needed one night to breathe. Then she added a heart emoji. That was when I knew. It had never been about the house. Or the crisis. Or love. It was about access. Whether I was still willing to open the gate when they knocked. And I realized something else. I could have been bleeding in a ditch, and they still would have asked me for gas money to get to the party. But what hit hardest, what truly shattered something inside me, was this. Not one person in that photo had thought to invite me. Not even as a guest. Not even as a prop. I was not family. I was funding. And standing there, staring at that smiling photo, something sharp clicked into place. A single, terrifying thought. Maybe they never loved me. Not really. Maybe they only loved what I could give them. And the worst part? I could not even prove them wrong. Because I had kept giving. Again and again. But that moment, that was the start of the unraveling. Because the next call I got, it was not a request. It was a demand. It was Matt this time. He called in the middle of the workday, did not even ask if I was busy, just jumped right in like we were picking up a conversation we had never started. I need 1200. No context. No hey. Just the number, dropped like a rock. I was sitting in my car, sandwich in one hand, phone in the other. For a second, I thought maybe I misheard. 1200 for what? I asked. He exhaled like I was being difficult. To cover the deductible. Someone hit Jenna's car while it was parked. No note, of course. And her husband's between paychecks again. They need a car to get the kids to school, man. He said it like I was on payroll. Like I was the insurance. I waited. Waited for him to say something like, I hate asking again. Or, I know this is a lot. Nothing. Just silence. While he waited for me to say yes. So I said, I can't, man. I'm tapped out. There was a pause. Then came the laugh. Not a friendly laugh. Not even fake shock. It was the kind of laugh that says you have some nerve. Tapped out, he repeated. You work nonstop. No kids. No mortgage. Where does your money even go? My jaw clenched. My mouth went dry. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I told him again, slower this time. I said I can't. And that is when he dropped the mask. Wow, you're seriously going to do this now? After everything we've let you be part of? Let me. I do not remember everything I said after that. My ears were ringing. My hands were shaking. But I do remember one thing I asked him. I said, what exactly do you think I am to you? He did not answer. He just sighed and said, whatever, man. Don't expect us to pretend you're still part of this family if you can't show up when it counts. Then he hung up. That sentence sat with me for the rest of the day, heavy in my gut like a swallowed stone. Don't expect us to pretend you're still part of this family. Like it was a performance. A courtesy they had extended out of habit. And suddenly, I saw it clearly. I was never invited. I was only tolerated as long as I paid the toll. But now the toll collector was angry the well had run dry. I stared at my phone for a long time, half expecting another call. An apology. A backpedal. Anything. But nothing came. And in that quiet, a different kind of thought crept in, one I had been too scared to face. What if I walked away? Not in anger. Not in revenge. Just walked away. But right as I let that idea settle into my chest, I got another message. From Mom. And it changed everything. It was just one sentence. Mom's text came through while I was lying awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, too tired to move, too wired to sleep. If you had a heart, you'd help your family. That was it. No greeting. No punctuation. Just that. I read it over and over, each time feeling like the ground beneath me cracked a little more. If you had a heart. This woman, my mother, who used to rock me to sleep when I had night terrors, who tucked notes into my lunchbox that said, I'm proud of you. Even if she forgot to say it out loud, this woman thought I was heartless. Not because I hurt someone. Not because I turned my back on them in a crisis. But because I said no. Because for the first time in years, I said, I can't. I did not respond. I did not trust myself to. Instead, I went back and scrolled through the thread. The last time she had asked how I was doing? 11 months ago. Even then, it was right after asking for help covering a vet bill. I laid there, phone in hand, and remembered a different version of her. A version from when I was 7, with calloused hands and tired eyes, standing over a sink of dishes, humming some old song while I sat at the kitchen table doing homework. That version felt like a ghost now. I started thinking about all the birthdays I paid for, all the rent I covered, the groceries, the gifts, the holiday dinners I never got to attend, but always helped fund. And what stung the most? Not that they took from me, but that they expected it. Like my love had to come with proof of purchase. I got out of bed and stood by the window, watching the streetlights flicker. I felt hollow, not angry, just gutted, like someone had finally emptied out the last part of me that still hoped things would change. Because that one sentence from her said everything they really believed. That love was measured by sacrifice. That my worth came from what I could give. That being present meant being available. And if I was not any of those things, I was disposable. And maybe, deep down, I always knew that. But now I had proof. Because the next day, I made a choice. And it was not loud. It was not revenge. It was just done. But then, just as I started to pull away quietly, something happened I never saw coming. And it forced me to confront the one question I had spent years avoiding. It happened by accident. A week after I went silent, no replies, no money, no calls, I got a message from a number I did not recognize. It was a screenshot. A group chat. I guess someone thought they were forwarding it to someone else and hit the wrong name. But I was in it. They had been talking about me. Not to me. About me. Matt, Jenna, Mom, even Dad, who usually never said a word unless the TV was off. And there it was, my name, scattered across their words like some kind of currency. Jenna had written, well, now we know he's not reliable anymore. Matt added, should have seen this coming. He was always sensitive. Then Mom chimed in. And her message? Her message split me in half. He's always thought he was better than us. He just hides it behind kindness. I raised a son who only loves when it's convenient. I read that sentence 5 times. My hands were shaking. Only loves when it's convenient. They did not see the nights I skipped meals to wire them cash. They did not know how often I cried alone in my car before walking into double shifts. They did not care that I had spent years making their emergencies my responsibility. To them, I was not someone who loved too much. I was someone who owed them and dared to stop paying. But the twist? The part that caught me off guard? Dad had finally said something. Just one line. Leave him alone. He's not the kid we used to push around. That was it. No defense. No apology. But for him, that was a thunderclap. I sat there with the phone in my lap, heart pounding, gut twisted, and I realized something awful. I had spent most of my life trying to be what they needed, and not once had I asked what I needed. What did I want? Love? Sure. Connection? Of course. But underneath that, beneath the sacrifices and guilt and pride, was the need to be seen. Not for what I gave, not for what I could cover, but for who I was when I had nothing to offer. And I had no idea who, if anyone, had ever seen that version of me. That night, I deleted the group thread, blocked the numbers, not out of hate, but because I finally saw the truth. They never missed me. They missed what I could fix. And love that only flows one way. That is not love. It is a leash. And I was done being walked on command. But just when I thought it was over, just when I felt free for the first time in years, I got a knock on my door. And standing on the other side was someone I had not seen in a very long time. It was Mom, standing there in her church coat, clutching her purse like it was armor. I had not seen her in almost a year. Not in person. Her eyes were tired, hair pulled back. She looked smaller somehow, like something had deflated inside her. For a second, I almost opened the door all the way, almost asked her in, but I didn't. I stayed halfway behind it, just watching her watch me. She smiled, that old, soft kind of smile she used to give me when I brought home report cards with gold stars. The one that used to mean something. I was in the area, she said, like we were two neighbors who'd grown apart, not a mother and son who had not spoken since she called him heartless. I nodded, said nothing. She shifted her weight and looked down at her shoes. I wanted to talk, face to face. I said, about what? She hesitated. Then she sighed, long and slow, like she was trying to let out everything without actually saying anything. I know things have been tense. Tense. That was the word she chose. I raised an eyebrow, still silent. She looked up at me again. Her eyes watered, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt, sadness, or just the cold. We were wrong to push so much, she said quietly. But you have to understand, we needed help. And you were always the strong one. There it was again, the praise wrapped in guilt. You always had your life together, she continued. We thought you were okay. I stared at her. Then I asked something I had never asked her before. Did you ever want to know if I was okay? She looked stunned, like the question had never occurred to her. I waited. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then said, you never said you weren't. I nodded. And you never asked. That hit her. I saw it. Her shoulders dropped just a little. We stood in silence for what felt like a full minute. Then she whispered, you're really not coming back, are you? I looked her in the eye and said, I never left. I was just never seen. She flinched like the word stung. I do not think she expected that. Not from me. She turned slightly, like she was about to go, but then stopped. I miss you, she said. Not just the money. You. I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. But the part of me that had been pulled in too many directions for too long, the part that used to bend for them without question, that part had gone quiet. So I said the only thing I could say honestly. I miss what I thought we had. She nodded, blinking fast. Then she stepped back, wrapped her coat tighter, and whispered, take care of yourself. And just like that, she walked away. No fireworks. No breakdowns. Just two people on opposite sides of a door that had been closing for years. And for the first time, I did not try to stop it. But that was not the ending. Because what came next, what I did the next morning, was not about revenge. It was about something I had not given myself in years. A second chance. The next morning, I did something small. But it felt huge. I logged into every shared payment app, every automatic transfer, every saved account. And I disconnected. One by one. No message. No warning. Just silence. I wasn't angry. I wasn't shaking or crying or looking for some dramatic goodbye. I was calm. Almost too calm. It felt like finally exhaling after holding my breath for years. Then I opened my contacts. I went down the list, Mom, Matt, Jenna, and changed their names. Not to anything cruel, just something honest. Request only. Because that is all they had become. And I was done confusing access with love, done mistaking their needs for my value. They say when you stop watering a dead plant, it starts to show you how dead it really was. I saw it in the days that followed. No one checked in. No one reached out, at least not without needing something. Not until Matt messaged asking if I had gotten a new card, because the rent transfer bounced. I didn't respond. He followed up a day later. Dude, seriously? Still no reply. Then Jenna tried. Called twice. Left a voicemail where her voice cracked. More frustration than sadness. You think this makes you better than us? No, I wanted to say. I don't think I'm better. I just finally realized I was not less. That providing is not proof of love. And love that only flows one way. That's not love at all. It is dependence. And dependence with a guilt trip bow on top is not a relationship. It is a transaction disguised as family. So I stepped out of it. Not with fireworks. Not with revenge. Just with clarity. And in that clarity, I found space for something I had not felt in years. Peace. It is quiet out here. And sometimes, yeah, it is lonely. But loneliness is not the same as being used. I still send a birthday card to my niece. I still keep a photo of my mom on the shelf. I still think about the way things could have been. But now I know that showing up for others does not mean disappearing in the process. You can love people from a distance. You can care without sacrificing your sanity. You can let go without hate. And the final truth? Being the strong one does not mean carrying everything. Sometimes, being strong means setting it down and walking away.